What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and today is going to be a fun day for, let's call them interesting videos, and some people won't like one of them, and hopefully everyone likes the other. But let's look at this video that we're talking about today, and this one here today, right now, is Gran Turismo Sport, and it's a pretty negative one. It's essentially paying more for less. Now, what do I mean by that? Or even paying the same for less. But let's look at the whole point of it. So today it was announced that there's a limited time demo for Gran Turismo Sport, and that's going to be, like I said, available at some point today. And the game itself, by the way, Gran Turismo Sport, is out next week. It's out on depending on where you live, it's out on either the 17th or 18th of October 2017 on PS4. Now, here's where there's a bit of an issue, okay? It's been confirmed how many tracks and how many cars and how many etc. are in the game. Now, here's where it gets dodgy. So you have to keep up with this, okay? Gran Turismo Sport, which is a full-priced game, by the way. That's right, it's a €70 game, or €130 for the collector's edition. Now, this game, like I said, releases next week, which is all well and good. But here's where it's not so well and good, okay? Because this game has 162 cars. Might sound like a lot, right? So let's look at the previous Gran Turismo game. The most recent one released on PS3, which of course was Gran Turismo 6. 1,197 cars. That's roughly 6 times as many cars in the previous game. And let's just keep it 100, we'll keep it fair, we'll keep it even. Let's look at Forza Motorsport 7, a game that released last week because it's essentially the main competitor. Although from what I hear is Forza is a far superior race, let's call them driving simulator game compared to Gran Turismo for years at this point. Just what I've heard. I don't play them, but you know, that's whatever. I'm just going by what seems to be the general consensus. But Forza Motorsport 7, which released last week on Xbox One and PC, has over 700 cars. So let me go back and point to something that not only are you paying more for less or paying the same for less, because let's face it, you're paying €70 getting 40 tracks and 162 cars, versus you could play something on the PC or the Xbox and you could get over 700 cars. Now, specifically, I want to focus on Gran Turismo 6 rather than focus on Forza Motorsport 7 as the comparison. I wanted to throw it in there just for the sake of it, just to give you a comparison, an idea of how other companies are handling their racing games. But the biggest issue is that the same developer a few years ago released a game with roughly 6 times as many cars for the same price. And now you're getting 1/6 of the cars for the same price. Now, we all know games and game companies and developers and publishers like to squeeze in the bare minimum amount of content they can give you and charge as much as they can for it. So I think it's bullshit that they're doing this, and hopefully people wake up and they're just not so desperate for a Gran Turismo game that they'll just throw their money at wastes of money like this. But here's one thing that a lot of people seem to forget, and that is completely in line with everything I've talked about in this video. Now, I'm not defending this practice, because this separate thing I'm about to mention is a different bullshit practice as it is, but the thing we've already covered so far is a bullshit practice as it is. So we're talking about 2 bullshit practices from this. There's the one that is paying the same or more for considerably less, and the next one I want to talk about is something that everyone seems to forget. Gran Turismo Sport is not the next true full Gran Turismo game. Everyone forgets this. Remember Gran Turismo Prologue on, I think it was Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2, and I think there was another prologue on one of the PS3 games. Remember those ones, those prologue games. Gran Turismo Sport is actually a prologue game. It was announced as one of these games when Gran Turismo Sport was actually announced. They said, Polyphony Digital actually said that Gran Turismo 7 is going to be so far off. In the meantime, they want to give people something smaller to actually go with and give them a feel for how Gran Turismo 7 will actually look and actually feel. And Gran Turismo Sport illustrates that because it really mainly focuses on certain types of sports cars. But everyone seems to be treating it like a full-on game. And if everyone remembers back in those days, those prologue games for GT, let's call it 4 and 6, again, off the top of my head, I don't remember which ones they are, they were not full price. They were dirt cheap because they were essentially extremely feature-cut demos. But hey, we live in 2017, where we need to bleed absolutely every single penny out of every single game from every single consumer. So it's a lot of bullshit. And the practice of selling, first off, the practice of selling these in general is bullshit. Selling it on the PS2 was bullshit. Selling it on the PS3 was bullshit. And just so it doesn't come across like I'm specifically bashing Sony, Konami did the same deal with Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Selling Ground Zeroes was absolute bullshit. The game is a 7-minute long demo, for fuck's sake. It's a great one, better than the actual finished product game, but you see my point. So while I'm in no way, shape or form condoning what Sony or Polyphony Digital actually do when it comes to this shit, let's just not forget that they have two bullshit business practices here. One is paying the same and more for less, and the other is selling demos, essentially. It's selling a demo, or even, I mean, they have a free demo of a full price demo of a game that will come out several years later. So a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that that GT Sport is the, what do we call it, is the prologue version of actual Gran Turismo 7. A lot of people forget that. I think over the course of the last couple of years, since GT Sport was first announced, I think I've literally seen it, with the exception of me saying it, I've seen it less times than I can count on one hand. It's maybe like 3 people have ever said it in history that I've ever noticed. And a lot of people forget that. So again, it's a bullshit practice that I don't condone, and I'm not defending them for doing it. Just remember that, people. The game is very, very limited, because it's essentially a cut down taster, teaser, almost demo version of what will be Gran Turismo 7 in a few years. So, I don't know, let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you think it's absolute bullshit that they can offer about 1/6 of the cars and 1/6 of the actual, well, yeah, it would be cars, that's it, versus their previous game from the same developer, and ask the same money, give or take, because it depends where you live and where you buy it from, but the same money, 1/6 of the features and the cars, basically. And again, with the same side of it, what do you think in the fact that Gran Turismo Sport is actually one of these prologue games that everyone seems to forget? I'm sure GT7, when it does properly come out, will have significantly more cars. Maybe it won't have more cars than GT6, maybe it won't have more cars than Forza 7, but I'm sure it's definitely going to have more cars than GT Sport. So let me know what you think about the whole practice of selling these prologue games or whatever, be it the cheap ones on the PS2 and the PS3, because they were considerably cheaper. They were about 1/3 of the cost of the actual full game, because you got a significantly lower amount of content in them, versus the shit you're getting in Gran Turismo Sport, where you're paying the same for what would be a full game and getting a hideous amount. So this video has been about paying more for less, which I'm sure you've surmised together. Let me know in the comments section below anything you think to do with either of the 2 points I've mentioned in here as well. Hit the like button if you liked the video, or if you found it informative. Hit the dislike button if you didn't, but for some reason watched all this way to the end. If you're a fan of this kind of video and my kind of opinions, hit the subscribe button and you can keep up with everything I talk about when it comes to bullshit business practices, or even praising companies for good business practices, which you will possibly see in a different video later today. Little subtle hint, no spoilers. Anyway, let me know all of that in the comment section below. Hit those buttons wherever appropriate, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.